And
Sorry about
yeah,
that.
we have Kate from our previous session. So if you guys were with us for our first Drawing at Home episode, she is back. And we have again, of course, Randy McMullen, who is our arts and entertainment editor here at Bay Area News Group. Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and let you start the conversation up again and jump into what's in Kate's bag and the whole thing. So please go ahead. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Erin. Actually, I'd rather be looking at a Monet painting than my ugly mug, but here I am. Yes, my name is Randy McMullen. I am the arts and entertainment editor for the Bay Area News Group. I've been in this job for about 15 years. I've been at the Bay Area News Group for about 22 years, having come out here from New York. I've done just about everything that journalism has to offer. I've been in the profession for almost 40 years, I hate to say. But along the way, I discovered that my real passion was in arts and entertainment. And that's, I'm lucky enough to have been able to work my way into that position. And it brings me to many experiences like being here with Kate. Kate Ruddle is she's originally from Connecticut. She is a fabric sculptor, an installation artist, an avid drawer, and a painter who lives now near Montpelier, Vermont. She taught drawing and sewing for Las Positas College in the community education program for more than 14 years. And she taught fabric sculpture at the San Francisco Art Institute for 7 years. And a highlight of that was being involved with a pilot program with the legendary Levi Strauss. She has a BFA in painting from Indiana University in Bloomington, where she received a Norfolk's Fellowship. She's also received a fellowship from Yale University for drawing and painting, and she studied drawing in Florence, Italy. She has an MFA in sculpture from the San Francisco Art Institute. And she has had her work exhibited in the Midwest, on the East Coast, and the West Coast, and even in Iceland. You can see her own work at her website, which is kateruddle.com, and I'll spell that KATERUDDLE.com. And she has been with us on a webinar before, but today we are going in a different direction. As you can see, Kate, unless you have a like an amazing interior decorator, I'm guessing you are outside somewhere near your home in Montpelier, Vermont. And that's what exactly we are here today to talk about, is to talk about drawing and painting and artwork in the great outdoors and in other environments other than your like studio or your house. So she's going to give us some pointers on that, and let's just get started on some how to work outside and what kinds of materials you need and other aspects of this. Hi, Kate.
Hi, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. And yes, I have a wonderful exterior decorator, nature. We all have that, which is wonderful.
Well, it's nice, like you said, that you can almost always find a place that can stoke your imagination. What are some points, like if you want to start giving like if you just want to start working outside, you're a beginning artist, what are some of the things you need to know to find a good practice, a good place to go to capture art, and what kinds of things you need to bring with you and other aspects of the trade?
So there's a couple of different ways to go about it. So the first is you can set up a permanent spot at your house in your backyard. And then the second way to go about that would be going to visit places. So going to the beach, going to a park, going to even a cafe. You know, you're going to have different types of experiences at different places, but they're all wonderful drawing experiences. Does that answer the question?
Where are you now in relation to your house, and how did you find this spot that you wanted to work in?
Yeah, so right now I am under a tree with a big rock behind me. It's on my land. We have 7 acres here, so I have a lot of land And we're building a house on it, so it was very wild. It's still very wild, actually. So I'm kind of finding little spots as I go. And my first spot my first drawing spot, I would say, was actually indoors looking out a window in the RV that we've been living in. And then after that, I drew a little bit, and I set up an outdoor garden for vegetables, and I drew a little bit there. And this year I seem to have moved under this tree. So this seems to be my new spot I'm excited about. I think after the pandemic, I wanted to get outside of that little spot. So
Is that tree your new muse?
I guess so. Yeah, it's very supportive. It's like it's very shady here and very comfortable. So finding a spot that's comfortable is really great.
You mentioned, again, like a specific item, like a tree or a rock or something. And I take it that, especially if you're someone who's just getting started, it's easier to think of trying to capture finite things or smaller things like a flower or a tree or a rock, as opposed to like the entire Pacific Ocean or like a huge landscape view from like the Grand Canyon or something. It's easier to set your focus.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think beginning students tend to want to take in too much, and there's so much to take in, and learning to distill it down is kind of an abstract skill. I've got a bug that's going to happen. Yeah, like starting with a daisy, just starting with one flower. Here we have a bunch of flowers, starting with one daisy is a good place to start. But drawing things that excite you and interest you it's really important. So not drawing things that you're not excited about, although you will probably get more and more excited about more things the more you draw, just because you'll find different aspects of things about them that are exciting or interesting to you.
Will you first go to a spot and just look at it without even drawing anything and just try to take it all in and think of things that you want to draw, or would you just go and start drawing anything that you see?
Well, I tend to kind of stare out into space a lot, because I just love looking at stuff, and I think that's very relaxing for me. I kind of zone out. So for when I was in the RV, I would just sort of stare out the window and just look at it. I mean, it was just so beautiful. It was actually kind of overwhelming to think about drawing it. And I spent a lot of time just looking at it because I think the more you know a place, the more comfortable you are with it, the less intimidated you are, and the more you can bring yourself to the place. Like travel drawing, I think, is one of the harder things to do. It's kind of funny because there was, before cameras, that's what everybody did. They'd carry sketchbooks around and they'd travel someplace and they'd draw. But I think it's hard to draw. It's interesting. I certainly do it when I travel, but I think it's there's something really unique about going to one place over and over again and drawing it, because you don't have to worry about it as much.
Okay, so now we have picked a spot. You picked a really beautiful one. Maybe I would go to a park or something like that, but now we've picked a spot. What do you bring with you besides off or raid or something to keep the bugs away? Yeah, what kinds of supplies do you bring a bag with you, like a knapsack, and
Yeah.
do you need much more than that, or what do you bring with you when you go?
Yeah, so I'll share my bag with you. I'll do my screen share. So I'm going to share with, oops, that's not the right one. Let's see, maybe it is. Let me try again. Okay, so let's see if I can get more light on this. I brought a light out here, but I'm not sure it's doing much for us. Okay, well, hopefully you can see. So first of all, pencil and eraser. And I like a eraser that, sorry, that's not an eraser, a sharpener. A sharpener that contains the shavings, especially when I'm on the go. This round. Okay. And a bag to hold that in, hopefully. And a sketchbook. So this would be like my minimal setup would be a pencil, a sharpener, and a sketchbook. Then if I went more involved, I'd also throw in an eraser, a number of different pencils, pens. Just gonna show you everything. So this is what I have in this bag right now. But bare minimum, really, that's what I want to be able to bring with me. So the more complicated you make it, the less likely you're going to go. But
that sounds so true.
So here we'll get complicated. I would also bring scissors so I could cut some flowers. Okay. And also if my sharpener went off, I can now sharpen my pencil with the scissors. So this is nice. I can just have that in the bag with the scissors in there as well. So I actually made a list of everything I put in the bag. And it's nice to have that because if I take stuff out of this bag, then I can quickly put everything back in it. So here's all the things that I put in it. So I put a tracking tool in it, which is animal tracking. I actually put a gratitude prayer in it, which is kind of neat. I put field binoculars.
Wow.
I put, let's see, let's hoist the whole thing up here for you. Here's the bag. In the top compartment, see that? I put paintbrushes. I put Home Depot paintbrush. This is a dollar brush. And then I put these Japanese brushes, which are nice. They have a cartridge, so there's water in them. These longer brushes, I like this brush a lot, but it's actually a little bit of a difficult thing for traveling because it's so long. But I'll use this at home. And then a few other longer brushes. This is a paint container. It lets me put water in here and it opens up for traveling. And it has all the paint in it. I've had this since I was 16. So I have also a tin of Altoids with more paint in it, so I can add to my paint collection. I have tape in case I want to tape down paper. I have cans to hold water. A paper towel. This is all for painting, so we've expanded from drawing to painting. I have tubes of gouache if I need them, which is again painting. I have more paper.
Just to interrupt for a sec, is there a particular kind of paint that you lean towards? Is it usually just watercolor? Is it stuff that you get like in a tube or
Yeah, I'm
a
using
block or something? Or
I'm using watercolor and I'm using gouache. And I've got a hat and I've got suntan lotion. And then my secret tool would be Victoria's Secret Bombshell, which is a lotion to keep bugs away.
that's funny.
So yeah, there's a lot in that little nope, in this little thing. But the nice thing is now I have it and I can just grab it quickly. But again, and then if you do that, like keep a dedicated backpack if you can, or keep that list somewhere handy so you can throw it all in the backpack quickly. Because again, if you make it too complicated, you're never going to go out and do it.
It's very true.
But, and this setup I've got here is really kind of for my backyard. Because if I went somewhere else, it would be getting a little bit heavy. So I was able to put a lot of stuff in here for the backyard. So I'd probably keep it simpler. I try to keep it as simple as I can, actually.
Getting back to the pencils, because I assume that most people who are just getting started out will be, like you say, starting out with drawing instead of painting. Is there a particular kind of pencil that you use? And you mentioned just at first that you had just one. Do you normally have just a black pencil, or do we have colors that are involved, or what are some of the kinds of pencils suggestions that you can make?
Yeah, I like graphite. I like graphite pencils. Statler is a pencil I use a lot. Now I use the Mitsubishi Uni pencil, but the Statler is easy to find in the art store. So I recommend that pencil. And yeah, they're graphite. They're black. They're not color, because color is another way. Colored pencils is another way to add color. Instead of the paint, you could do that. Instead of the watercolor. You know, there's giving a paint recommendation gets kind of complicated because it has a lot to do with, you know, what amount of money you want to spend, the quality, how light fast the paints are going to be, how long they're going to last for you. So that gets into a whole thing. I actually discuss that in my classes. I don't want to discuss that here per se, but I would just say, you know, making a choice of some sort of color. But we're talking about drawing, so graphite pencils.
Okay. A lot of people are really impressed with your list, and they're hoping that maybe you could make a copy available at some point to people who want to follow up with this.
Yeah, I can send out a copy.
Like me, they would never remember.
Yeah, it's easy.
Okay, so now that you've got your right supplies, and you've found a spot that for whatever reason inspires you, what's the best way of getting started to draw or paint stuff that you see around you?
Well, I think sitting in your spot first, you know, maybe not even drawing. So that's what I'm gonna talk about that a bit more in detail in this upcoming class that I'm offering. But so for example, like with this spot that I chose, one of the things I actually did was I drew it from the opposite direction. Like I drew it, you know, from a distance, and then I came closer, and then, so it's like sort of getting yourself situated in the spot, I think is kind of a nice ritual. But really there's no right or wrong. It's just getting yourself to the place and letting nature kind of teach you is I would say the most important thing. Giving yourself the space, getting yourself, drawing is a mindfulness practice. So if you can get yourself in the chair and be able to take a breath and center in that spot, and then you can start to look. Because if you're thinking about a million things, it's going to be hard to really look at what's in front of you.
Are we going to get into a little bit of drawing here? If we want to go ahead and get started on that.
Yeah. We're going to start with our drawing practice.
Sure.
All right.
I don't want to
Awesome.
keep babbling here when people are probably eager to get drawing.
Awesome. All right. And yeah, I mean, just let me know if you have questions. So
Okay.
I'll share my screen. Okay. Okay, so, and again, I apologize for the shadowiness, but hopefully it'll be fun just being outside anyway. So one of the things that I thought I would talk about today is drawing something outside and drawing something that we were going to talk about, drawing something that moves. So if you're drawing something that moves like a bird, so here's some drawings I did of a bird the other day for the morning. So in terms of timing, yeah, actually Randy asked about timing with the light, but actually with the wildlife, actually that is actually really important because the birds are really active in the morning, right? And like right now, what is it? It's 1:30 my time, and there's hardly, I hear them, but I don't see them. So this wouldn't be a good time to draw them probably. But you know, they usually are on this very rigid or very regular schedule. Like once I did an art piece where I did a video of a woodpecker that was coming out of a birdhouse that I had in my backyard in California. And I videotaped him like the whole day. And then I realized like he was coming out at 7:30 in the morning on the dot and going back in at 7:30 at night on the dot. So I didn't have to do all that videotaping because he had this very regular schedule. So if you're drawing birds, getting out there and just kind of familiarizing yourself with their schedule is really helpful. So this idea of the gesture drawing is something that people usually learn in college. So it's a little bit of more advanced skill. So if it feels too much for you, just watch, that's fine. But the idea is that you can use it in a couple of different ways. You can use it for something that's moving fast. You can use it to familiarize yourself with something, and you can use it to decide how you want your composition to be. So in the case of the bird, so there was a bird that was coming towards me and I quickly drew him. There was some doves on the ground. They were more stable. There were some sparrows. And then there was a robin that came at me really fast and I had to sort of draw it from memory. These two were from memory. So you're trying to sort of capture the essence of the movement or the essence of what you're seeing. Usually gesture is coming from drawing a person. So you draw a person and they're doing like different movements. Maybe they're holding like a fake staff. Maybe they're bending over. Maybe they're doing a ballet pose. So they keep switching. They keep doing these different poses. And you time them for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that sort of thing. So with the flower, it's not moving, but if I take a flower, if I just have this one flower, so I could draw it like straight on. That could be one gesture or one pose. I could draw it sideways. That could be a second one. I could draw it away from me. I could draw it like this, try to draw it away from me at an angle where I could just see, like maybe I could just see part of that yellow center. You know, I can see no yellow center. You can see a whole yellow center. So it's a good way of getting to know what you're drawing and trusting that you can draw it, trusting your intuition, what you're going to put down. Usually I think people think, oh, the drawing has to take a really long time. But so that's what we're going to do today. So I think what I want is everyone to go around their house or wherever they are and pick up some object and try not to make it an object that's too difficult, but like maybe like a rock. What else? How do you draw? Why don't you just take a minute and just go around and see what you can find in your house that looks interesting to you, that you can change it when it, you know, so like a cup wouldn't be super great, but like maybe a vase. So if I have this vase, right? So if it's like this, it's going to be very different than if it's looking forward at me. the side to the back is different. Okay. And if you can, finding something that's maybe not completely like the same on both sides. Like, so like a cup would be the same on both sides. Does that make sense? Anyone have any questions about that?
I got one question in our chat that was a really interesting idea. They said if you're outside and you see a scene that you want to draw, obviously you can't just finish it all up in one outing. Would taking a picture of the object or the scene be helpful so that you could work on it while you were at home? Or is that a bad idea because it creates a different vision of the object that you're looking at?
That's a really good question. Usually, I was taught that you don't want to do that because and I think this is true. I think it changes your experience. And another thing is that the photograph is very flat, and it's gonna distort. It's gonna change how you look at the scene. So, you know, our eyes work together. Like each eye is flat, but together they make 3D. So, and then you take the photograph and then that makes it flat again. So, I mean, I think you can use, but even though I think it's not the best way to proceed, I think you can still use that as a tool. So I don't like to say, no, don't ever do that, you know, because who knows, that might be a really interesting, you know, technique for somebody, and then they might develop a new way of going about things that, you know, only they, that's unique to their practice and to their art making. So I'd say try it, but with the caveat that I don't think it's going to really capture your experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does, especially the one-dimensional versus two-dimensional, three-dimensional thing.
Yeah. And I think getting people to draw not from a photograph is really good. Like that opens people up more to the experience. You know, because when you take a photograph, it's kind of like, done it, you know, took it. But there's, unless you're like spending the whole afternoon like with, you know, with camera, and you're like focusing and you're taking multiple shots and you're really into the activity of photography, which is a whole activity in and of itself. But if you're kind of just like, did it and now I'm moving on, I feel like there is a certain way that a camera can take you out of the experience. So in this, we're trying to slow down our experience, be in a moment. It's almost more like a meditation.
Plus, I'm just guessing, not being a particularly gifted artist in my own right, that when you see something that you're going to draw or paint, you should basically not expect to come up with a carbon copy of what you're looking at, but what your version of what you're looking at. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah. We're not trying to illustrate necessarily. We're trying to, I would say, get to know a place or get to know an aspect, like an aspect of a place. So it's more about our relationship, you know, with that place. I'm just laughing because there's a little tiny yellow spider like going across the screen. All right, looks like we have to start drawing. So let me go back to my screen share. So I want to give everyone enough time to draw. And again, I was just going to quickly point out this. This is another example. So I have this little, I didn't bring him out, but I have this little tiny I think Hawaka animal, you know, it's like a little aardvark. And so I did this exercise with him. So here's I ended up at this angle and I painted him, but you can see that I did him like straight on to the side from the back at an angle kind of away from me. I think this is where what I liked and ended up with. But so it gives you a lot of different options. So that's kind of what we're gonna do now. So,
Where did you come across that critter, and was he friendly?
oh, it's a little wooden animal. It's a little, you know, they're Mexican, from Mexico. Little painted sculpture animal. Okay, so let's go. So everybody has their object. And I think I'm gonna go with this. I have this flower here thing. So I'm gonna do one over here of it like this, and then I'll turn it sideways, and then I'll turn it another way. So we have like 25 minutes. Well, anyway, we're gonna just do quick ones. So actually I didn't bring my timer. Randy, do you have a timer? You can time everybody.
I have a watch. So
All
I
right,
can
awesome.
time.
So I'll let you do the time. So, and I'll do the time too, some degree. So let's start off. We'll start off with, we'll do let's do 2 minutes. So everybody get ready and go. So the idea of this is that we're trying to get sort of a sense of it. It's not like we're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to get a kind of move along and draw it. Like how much can you draw in your 2 minutes? Looks like I'm kind of going on doing a minute one, but going a little fast.
Okay, my 2 minutes is up.
All right, there we go. Good.
You're like Iron Chef. Drop the spatula.
All right, so we'll do it. So how was that for everybody? Did that feel fast, or was that a good amount of time? Let's see what people say. We're gonna do another one. We're gonna do another 2 minute. All right. So
2 minutes seems to be working for everyone. So let's try
Awesome.
that.
So, and what I like to do too is give people a like, okay, we're gonna wrap it up, 15 seconds to go kind of thing, warning. So mark, set, go. So give us a 15-second warning, Randy, when we're at that point.
Okay.
We can wrap it up. Sorry, I should have brought my timer with me. And remember to breathe. It's not like a race. And so this is kind of like a quick sketch, essentially is what we're doing. Why don't you tell them too when a minute has gone by too? That would be great.
Okay, we've passed a minute. We have about 30 seconds left.
Awesome, perfect. And you'll notice things different as you go. So like, see this flower here, this upper flower? I'm noticing now that it's not this far over, it's over here. So I'm going to try to adjust that. You don't have time to erase, so don't erase.
We're just about done here.
I like that.
2 minutes flies.
Good. So towards the end, start to wrap it up a little bit. Think about how you can pull it together. What's really important in this, it gives it a sense of what, we want.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, and now we'll do another one. You can always go back and erase a portion if it was really complicated, but try not to erase a lot. It usually gets people out of the mind of looking, I think, and into sort of an analyzing state, and that's not really where we want to be right now. And if you're nervous or holding your breath, try to feel your feet on the ground and kind of press your feet into the ground. How's our time, Randy? I think you're muted.
Sorry, about 20 seconds. I think I gave you all extra time this time.
Awesome. Okay, so wrapping it up.
Okay.
Time, yeah. All right, cool. Well, now let's do one. Let's up it and let's do a minute now, just to see how that goes. Okay, ready?
Just 1 minute?
Yeah, let's do a minute.
Okay.
Ready?
Go.
Go. Just try to capture the essence of it. You don't have to capture all the details. Just let the details go. Just, like with mine, I'm just trying to capture the sort of the feeling of this shape.
$15 seconds. Okay, just about to wrap it up now. Okay.
Awesome, perfect. All right. How was that for everyone? And then I guess we would go last, we'd go back to the 2-minute just to do one last one.
Okay.
Sharpen my pencil. So this is another good thing for the sharpening of the pencil. If you don't have my pencil sharpener butts on me, and so now I've got my knife, so I can sharpen my pencil with my knife or with my scissors. So that's not so great. I'm just gonna grab another pencil.
Would you normally like bring like 2 or 3 copies of the same pencil just in case this happens?
It's a very good idea. Yeah. Yeah, and here I have the same pencil. It's not as sharp as I would like it, but so. All right, here we go. One last go. So let's do
Okay.
a 2-minute one.
2 minutes. Here we go.
We'll tell them when a minute is up and then the 15-second marks.
Okay. Coming up on 1 minute. Coming up on 15 seconds. Five seconds.
Awesome. So wrapping it up, thinking about how to
4,
wrap it up.
3. Should be like a studio audience counting down with me.
Iron Chef.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. So let me know how people like that.
Several people asked whether or not it seems like you are picking a different angle, like you're changing the angle each time. Is that something that you would normally do? Is that something that people should try to do, like keep on changing the angle or the aspect of what they're drawing?
Yeah. So that was the idea behind that exercise, was to change the angle every time. So you're looking at it from a different perspective. So we were changing the angle every time. It gives you a different way of looking at it. It makes it fresh, and it takes it out of your icon brain, which just does this snapshot of, I know what this looks like, and I'm going to just draw it. Like if I'm drawing this daisy, I'm just going to draw it round. It's essentially round, round middle with a round outside. Well, it's not really that way, is it? It's got, like, this is bent back, there's a gap here, this is bent, but we kind of have this icon picture of it in our mind. So when we start changing it, it forces the icon out of our mind, right? We really start to see. I don't even see any leaves over here, right? Like I see leaves here, there's a gap, then I see these leaves. How do I draw this? It's coming straight at me. It forces you to be more creative and that sort of thing. Drawing it from behind, right? Drawing it this way, that's very different, right? Some are down, some are up. So that's one of the things with drawing. We want to force ourselves or move ourselves out of that icon brain into seeing what's really in front of us, what's really there. It's pretty complicated. It's really different from what we think is there.
This will sound like a really dumb question. It's coming from somebody who really can't even draw stick figures very well. When you start to draw something like something even simple like a branch or a flower or a small rock or something, what do you start drawing first? Do you try to draw the shape of it? Do you try to draw some part of it that you want to start with? How do you start to get the shape and the angle that you eventually come up with?
I just notice, I guess, what's the first thing that my eye is drawn to, because that's the thing that usually interests me most, or is a good starting spot. Because all drawing is relational, it doesn't really matter where you start. You're going to get to the other part eventually. It's all unified. I mean, that's kind of the way that drawing works the best, is if you have that relationship working. So you can really start anywhere.
I remember you mentioned before this class once that, excuse me, that it was important to do these exercises in which you get a different perspective of the same thing each time. And you mentioned a movie. I don't know if we still have a clip of it or not, but it was called My Octopus Teacher, where somebody kept, which I've seen, and it's an amazing film, by the way. I recommend it to anybody. But that somebody who went back to the same exact part of this lagoon outside, the ocean lagoon outside his house, every day, because every day there was something different that he took from that scenery. That's kind of what you're talking about here, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was such a beautiful movie, and I thought it was so great to see that, especially during the pandemic, because it was like he had been in a stressful situation, and he'd come back to a place that he'd grown up in and was getting reacquainted with it, and would go to the same area, go swimming in the same area day after day. And by day 340, I mean, the whole movie was about him going to the same spot and making an artwork, which was a movie out of it. And really getting to know that place and getting acquainted with that place. So I think that that's one of the beautiful things about setting up a backyard spot, is you're going to get to know your space in a different way through drawing it. I mean, just right now being outside, I've seen a yellow spider that I've never seen. I've seen, there's a little bug right now on the daisies. So it's like, and then if you're quiet, also, you're going to see different things, because the birds will come closer.
By the way, I got that title correct, right? It's
My Octopus Teacher.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful movie. And I think, I mean, the moment where he talks about going to the same spot every day, like he said, why are people ask me, why do I go to the same spot every day? And he says, because it opens up to me. And I mean, I just think a lot of people probably have had that experience from seeing their house, from being home more and just being around their house more. You see things that you probably don't know go on necessarily. So just the same thing as getting to know a spot. And it can be your house, it can be your backyard, it can be going to, a certain spot in a park every day. But I think getting to know a place and getting situated in a place is really special.
And that movie, actually, I think you can rent it, stream it pretty much right now. I think it was about a month ago that I saw. I'm pretty sure it's still available, and you can at least check out a trailer on YouTube. But yeah, I remember getting that same thing, that he went to the same place, and just, I mean, it helped that he was going underwater, and there was an octopus down there that he actually befriended and learned the life of, but yeah, it was interesting. Are there any particular artists that you can recommend to people who do such a great job of capturing simple things outdoors? Maybe people that people could look up or something?
Well, I think the Impressionists are great to look at for sure for outdoor moment, like trying to capture a moment. And I would recommend people looking at drawings too, if you can. And it's always really great to go, you know, at Christmas. The museums usually have those big blockbuster shows. And it's usually like a retrospective of one artist. And I think it's always really, really great to see those shows, because you'll see their drawings, and you'll see how they work and how they progress. And you'll sort of see them more as people and less as, oh, here's this masterpiece. Oh, here's this masterpiece next to this masterpiece. And you see their work in a context, and you see that not everything that they made was gorgeous, 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 you know, that they had to experiment, and they had to learn, and they had to practice. So I think seeing shows like that is really important. You can also do it by going to the library and, you know, checking out a book just of Monet, just of Manet, you know, just of a particular artist.
When you, I know patience is a real plus when it comes to this kind of thing, because I take it that you're not going to be happy with the first thing you do, and maybe you want to keep on drawing the same thing. Do you recommend just like maybe doing a few practice runs on an object before you actually try to draw it, or is there a way to go about that, or do you mostly think that you should stick with something until you think it's where you want it to be?
Well, I think that what we just did today was like a practice run. Like, we got to know that drawing better, and the next step could be, you could do like a 5-minute drawing of that, or you could do a half an hour drawing of that, or just whatever you feel comfortable with. You know, don't exhaust yourself. Just draw until you're like, okay, I think I've done enough. Like, that's enough. But you know, now we've done these different. I did this plant from different angles, and now I might do another drawing of it and spend more time with it. I might one of the things I really liked when I was drawing it was that I really noticed the purples, and so I think I'd probably add some color. So you know, it's just about having it be enjoyable, really, for yourself.
Getting back to where you are, you're somewhere near your house now, right? Did it take you a while to find that spot? Did you look around several times before you picked this one, or did it just jump out at you right away?
I was actually drawn to this spot like when we were looking at the land to buy it.
Okay, well, I think we have come to the end of this session. Kate, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your beautiful, I wish I could just kind of teleport myself there right now and enjoy the day there. But thank you so much for sharing your talents and your insights with us. And Erin, I am going to turn this back to you.
Thank you. Yes. And then Kate, if you can stop your share,
Oh, yeah.
we will put our slides up so that
Yes,
if everyone wants to get your recommendations on
Yeah.
Brushes and pencils, we have that on a slide. So please don't go yet, everyone, so you guys can see that.
And I will also, oops. I was gonna spin my screen around and show you my view.
Yes, and so we have some recommendations from Kate here. She had given us some brush recommendations, as well as just other materials. So the pencil, the eraser, sketchbook. So please take a screenshot of that, copy and paste it. We will be putting that in our email when we send it out. So definitely look for those recommendations. And then for Kate's class, so if you're interested in learning more from Kate and experiencing your drawing a little bit further, she is offering some classes. It is on an Eventbrite link. I know the link is like super huge and large, but we will send it to you. So you can just click on it, and I'll have Charnel, if you can go ahead and put that link in the chat for everybody, that would be awesome. Yeah, I would love for you guys to participate in her classes. And then for our upcoming shows, we have on July 8th, interior design for remodeling. On July 15th, we have another flora and fauna, what went wrong. And then on July 16th, we are continuing with our bookish series. That is our partnership with our Southern California newspapers. And I hope you guys are enjoying that series as much as we are. That's it for today, though. And we really appreciate you guys joining us. If you have any questions, suggestions for other topics, please go ahead and reach out to us at theevents@bayareanewsgroup.com. And of course, upcoming events you'll see at mercurynews.com/events, eastbaytimes.com/events, and marinij.com/events. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Randy. We'll be sending out the recording in the next day or so, and you guys have a wonderful Thursday.